change. He is a very serious gun collector, and he's also avidly interested in UFOs and close encounters with extraterrestrials.
We would get the smoking gun. That would prove the existence of extraterrestrial visitation on our world.
For nearly 3 decades, John J. Ford, chairman of the Long Island UFO Network, has been investigating UFO sightings, abductions, and a possible federal government cover-up of these incidents. Preston Nichols is Ford's longtime friend and co-worker.
He's always been a sort of a militaristic fellow, but a nice fellow. You know, he's always been considerate. I couldn't see him wanting to harm anybody.
Nichols says he and Ford have recently been investigating the possibility that last year's massive West Hampton brush fire was caused when a UFO crashed into the Pine Barrens. And that's why he claims the federal government was out to get them last December.
John and I were going out on a field investigation. They loosened all 5 lug nuts on one tire halfway. The idea being we got the high speed and lose the wheel.
You say they. Who is they?
We don't know for sure. We believe it's the part of the government that covers up UFOs.
Ford is a member of the Conservative Party and actually wanted to use the federal government cover-up as a platform to run this year for the 3rd District State Assembly seat. Until now, the Conservative Party had considered running him, but now fellow conservative John Bloom claims we honest and true conservatives believe that all government officials should be above reproach. From all the information I see in regard to this incident, John Ford is not, and I repeat, not a conservative. Ford worked as a court officer here at Suffolk County Supreme Court from March of 1982 through July of 1994 when he left on disability. In the early 1990s, News 12 spoke with Ford at a meeting on UFO sightings and abductions.
They're studying us.
Investigators say Joseph Mazzucchelli of Manorville, also a member of the UFO network, was involved in Ford's threat to kill several local politicians. But Preston Nichols insists his friend is being set up. Could John Ford be responsible for any kind of a threat on John Powell or on his family?
Not that I'm aware of. I doubt it because John and I have still been trying to figure out who the H is behind this.
Now, obviously, they're not the only ones trying to figure out who is behind this, if it is indeed a setup like John's Ford friends claim. And also, we should tell you that Mazzucchelli, the second suspect, does have a long criminal record, including at least 50 arrests for burglary, grand larceny, petty larceny, and harassment. That's it for now. We're live in Bellport. Sherry Einhorn, News 12 Long Island. Now let's go back to you in the studio. Lee?
All right, Sherry, thanks very much. Now, just what is radium? How easy is it to get, and what sort of damage can it do? News 12's Christina DeBerrio joins us now with some answers as our team coverage continues. Christina?
Well, Lee, radium is a radioactive hazardous material. There are very strict regulations for getting radium, so it's next to impossible to find. And for years it was common in the medical field, but it has been out of use now for about 15 years. Experts say you can't taste it or smell it, and they say it would take a very long time to kill someone by exposing them to radium.
I will assure you all that there is no health risk to the people either of Bellport or the surrounding communities. We've ascertained that the lead shields are protecting the material. That's how you would handle it in an appropriate manner.
5 canisters of radioactive radium isotopes were found at John Ford's home. Police and radiation experts from Brookhaven National Lab say the radium is safely concealed in 25-pound lead containers. Authorities do not know how much radium is in the containers, what form it is in, or how Ford got it.
Radium has been used over the years in many applications, including medical applications for treatment of cancer and diagnostic purposes, even in doctor's offices in your local neighborhood, dating back to the 1940s. It's also been used in industrial applications.
If the suspects, Ford and Joseph Mazzucchelli, were successful in exposing John Powell and his family to radium, experts say in the short term, low doses of radium wouldn't do much harm. But in high doses, it would cause nausea, diarrhea, and flu-like symptoms. It would attack the bone marrow, including the white blood cells, and it could damage the intestinal tract. Over the long term, about 3 to 10 years, in high or low doses, radium eventually deposits in the bone, and it could cause leukemia, and bone cancers.
It would take an extremely long time to receive a fatal dose.
Now, radium, you may also remember, was used in the 1930s. It was common on watch dials to make them glow in the dark. Right now, those canisters of radium are at the University Medical Center at Stony Brook, where they will be tested.
Lee? Christina, thank you very much. 2 suspects have been arraigned. Brendan?
Lee, 48-year-old
with J. Palma. Weather with Joe Sheehan and award-winning team coverage of Long Island and the tri-state area.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
From Ardsley to Aquabog, here's what's happening this evening. A bizarre and troubling plot to kill.
2 Brookhaven men are under arrest tonight. They're charged with hatching a conspiracy to murder top Suffolk County Republican officials.
We begin with team coverage of this story as News 55's Alyssa Coleman reports.
3 counts of conspiracy to murder. That's what John Ford of Bellport and Joseph Mazzucchelli of Manorville are each charged with.
Individuals were overheard plotting the assassination of local public officials.
Suffolk County officials described the plot as something out of a novel. The 2 allegedly planned to spread radioactive chemicals in and around the homes of 3 Republican officials.
They suggested ways wherein they could go and put some of this material in their toothpaste, put some of the material in possibly dentures.
Typically would be a fine powder, it could be hazardous in amounts that you wouldn't notice.
The DA's office says the 3 men at the top of the hit list were Suffolk County Republican Chairman John Powell, Suffolk County Legislator Fred Toll, and Brookhaven Public Safety Director Anthony Gazzola. Prior to the most recent plot, investigators say Ford carried a gun and stalked the homes of the 3 Republican leaders. But investigators don't believe the leaders had any idea their homes were being stalked. Upon arresting Ford, detectives confiscated the radioactive materials. Lab experts have already surveyed the area and say the chemicals didn't leak and residents have nothing to worry about. Detectives also found an arsenal of weapons inside Ford's home.
Rifles, knives, handguns. Obviously, those are empty canisters for 81 millimeter white phosphorus mortars. I don't know where the mortars are, but I tell you that, as an old soldier, that gives me the willies.
Detectives also found pamphlets on the Freemen militia. They also say Ford headed a Long Island UFO organization.
You don't know what's in the minds of these people, and that's what makes it more dangerous.
The DA's office says it's actively continuing this investigation. Ford and Mazzucchelli have been arraigned and are being held without bail. In Hop Hog, Alyssa Coleman, News 55.
Meantime, reactions to the arrests range from shock to being not very surprised. John Ford has been an active for many years in the UFO movement and was also an avid reader of military materials. News 55's Jill Conway has this exclusive report on the suspects who are now being held without bail.
As the alleged assassination plot began to unfold this afternoon, friends and neighbors of John Ford and Joseph Mazzucchelli expressed shock and disbelief.
I thought he was a very nice guy. Since the first day I moved in here about a year ago, he's very helpful, and I didn't think anything like this would ever happen.
According to investigators, it was here at Ford's home in Bellport that police confiscated an assortment of deadly weapons, including radioactive material. Police say these 2 men allegedly planned to use radiation to kill a number of local political leaders. But many who knew them say they can't believe that.
I think he's innocent of the radiation, because he'd have nothing to do with radiation.
Preston Nichols worked with Ford for over 15 years, investigating various UFO sightings. He says although Ford was an avid gun collector, he posed no threat to society.
He was firm. He was firm and like a policeman, but he wasn't violent. I never saw him fly off the handle. I never saw him damn anybody, damn this one, damn that one. He was always calm. He was always cool.
But when Suffolk County legislator Fred Toll found out he was allegedly one of the 3 men on their hit list, he was nothing but surprised.
I was very shocked. I'm very surprised in this day and age, particularly in a local elective office, to have to be wondering about these type of things. It does definitely send a chill up your spine.
Toll says he never met either of the 2 and doesn't understand why he would be a marked man. Since the news, he and the other targeted figureheads have beefed up their security. Many residents of this quiet Bellport community say they find the shocking turn of events unbelievable. They say they are frightened that such danger lurked just doors away.
I worry about children a lot. because my daughter and her friend had gone exploring, and they said that the men that lived there were mean.
I can't even believe this is happening in our neighborhood. You know, there was never any problem with this house and no action or anything. And to hear all the things that are happening and the weapons and everything, I can't even believe it happened here.
The investigation continues. In Bellport, Jill Conway, News 55.
Now our top national story this evening. The Freeman conflict is officially over.
For a period of time in an attempt to kill them. Lab officials say the radioactive material was not enough to harm residents.
Breaking news from the Freeman Ranch in Montana. The anti-government militants have surrendered after an 81-day standoff with the...
And coming up next, the tough guy accused of that clubbing in West Hampton Beach showed the judge his scar. He says he's the victim. What did the judge say? That's up next on the 10 o'clock news.
It's the birds, the bees, and Bart.
Son, a woman is a lot like a refrigerator.
The Simpsons, tomorrow at 7 on Fox 5. Talk about his philosophies on
Ford.
Can you write best wishes, and how long can you keep signing your name? Just
County. The Donald takes time out for a star-studded celebration of the Big 5-0. A New York newsmaker takes his latest project to the public. One fast food giant takes some heat over its piggish marketing habit. And a primetime actor and part-time stand-up comic takes time to talk about his philosophies on fame. This is the 10 o'clock news.
welcome back. Police on Long Island say they've cracked a bizarre assassination plot.
Some of the targets were top Republican officials in Suffolk County, and the weapon? Radioactive waste. The arrests went down in Bellport. Linda Schmidt reports.
Joseph Mazzucchelli and John Ford, seen in the white T-shirt, are charged with plotting to assassinate 3 people, including 2 top Suffolk County Republicans. On their alleged hit list were Republican Party Chairman John Powell, County Legislator Fred Toll, and Anthony Gazzola, the chief investigator for the town of Brookhaven. Mazzucchelli and Ford were allegedly planning to kill them with radioactive materials.
An individual so obsessed with hatred for mainstream political figures would solicit people to spread radioactive material on the seat of his car, in his food, or in some proximity to him in the hope that over a period of time he would contract incurable diseases and cause his death.
Investigators found 5 canisters of radium in Ford's home in Bellport, Long Island. They also found this arsenal, including assault rifles, a gas mask, minesweeper, Geiger counter, and Freeman militia journals.
Ford told the investigators that he was just at Powell's house about 2 weeks ago, stalking him with this massive assault rifle.
D.A. Catterson was also on the hit list. So far, there isn't any clue as to why they wanted these men dead.
It's something that I never really thought about as a local elected official. I really brought a lot of concern not only for myself, but for my family.
Ford is a retired Suffolk County court officer. He's also the leader of a UFO organization. His neighbors just describe him as helpful.
I'm very surprised. He's a very nice man ever since the day I moved in.